we're not going to sleep on the Magic. We're not going to sleep on Sooner Magic in this game. What's the defense got to do? They're going to have to do a lot.
You are Locked On Sooners, your daily podcast on the Oklahoma Sooners. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Thanks so much for making Locked On Sooners your first listen of the day. Again, shout out to all the everydayers out there tuning in and subscribing to the show wherever they get their podcasts. Jay, give me a defensive key to the game for the Sooners.
Turnovers. Offense, keep the ball. Defense, take it. Texas will give you the ball. They have some turnovers. They fumbled the ball twice, I think, against Mississippi State, which kept that game like a 1-point game up, almost up at the half, and I think it was ended up being 14-6. So, and then Texas ended up running away in the second half because they started taking care of the ball. But we are very opportunistic, not only in the pass, but also in the run. So for us, we're going to have to get a lot of pressure on Quinn, get as many hits as possible, while also forcing those turnovers. I anticipate we will. He's going to try to be more careful than he was before, but the way that this pass rush is, which, to be honest, it's improved from last year. Last year's was solid. In this game, the pass rush has gotten better in comparison, and all we've got to do is just keep putting helmets in the chest. The more you hit this young man, the more he's going to tighten up. And when he tightens up, that oblique's going to get a little weird. And those passes ain't going to fly the way that he's used to. You got to keep pressure on him. If you keep the pressure on him, I think that Oklahoma will have a really good chance of getting that offense off the field.
Yeah, I was going to say, you've got to make Quinn Ewers uncomfortable early in this game. It's been a few weeks since he last played. I want to say back in week 3?
Yeah, week 3 last time he
UTSA.
played, yeah.
So, he didn't get to play against Mississippi State. He didn't play against ULA Monroe. So, he hasn't played significant action. So make him uncomfortable early, put pressure on him, and not just put pressure on him, but also confuse him. Throw out some of your zone blitz looks where you're dropping guys into coverage that maybe he doesn't expect to drop. And like they do, they'll drop a Trace Ford into coverage. They'll drop an R Mason into coverage, but you have an opportunity to create some confusion early on in the game. And that'll have him guessing or second guessing what he's looking at throughout the game. And if you can make him uncomfortable, both mentally and physically in the first quarter, I think that's going to go a long way to helping the Oklahoma Sooners defense have success on Saturday.
Yeah, it's going to be all about the pressure. We know that Zach Galley's going to be dialing up some exotic stuff. You know that they're going to be prepared thoroughly for this game. The defense has improved from last year. As Texas would tell you, their offense has also improved. That's great. Our defense is better than what it was last year. They're a lot more they're more intentional with where they go. They're making sure they're in the right spots. They're susceptible to the deep pass just because we like to, get really, really aggressive. But I think they're going to be prepared for Texas trying some of their deep passes. I think that we'll have the personnel out there that's ready for a deep pass to try to go over the top. Or we'll just have ourselves a couple guys there to bracket. Texas in wide receiver room, I guess you could say it's improved from last year. They will say it is. I don't know if these guys are going to get themselves drafted in the first 3 rounds. I think that last year's team, wide receiver room was really good. So for us, the key thing is making sure that they're not able to be comfortable also. Get in the chest of those wide receivers, knock off some of their routes, make them mad, make them frustrated. But if anything, physicality is going to be critical in the success for this game.
Yeah, because Texas is going to come into this one trying to prove a point on the physical side of things. 100%. Because Oklahoma was able to bully them last year, especially on the goal line stand. Texas ran for a good number of yards, but it didn't matter in that game because when it got down to crunch time, down in the red zone, Oklahoma was the more physical team, whether it was the goal line stand, the the Billy Bowman hit on JT Sanders that led to the Kendall Dolby interception. There was a number of occasions where Oklahoma was the more intense team on that, defense versus the offense. They were the more physical team, and that translated throughout the entire game. So it's going to be a physical matchup. The offensive line has taken that as a challenge against Oklahoma's defensive line, but Oklahoma's defensive line is better than what it was last year, especially the interior. It is better. And I think the edge group is better because you've got an R. Mason Thomas that's available for you. You've got depth with Caden Woolard that can come in as a rotational piece as well. it's just a better group. Trace Ford is playing really, really good football. Last year, I think he was really up and down because it was his first year in the system. Now he's really settling in and he's starting to star for you. The last couple of games, he's been a very impactful player, and that's going to continue to improve for him. But you've got a deeper defense. If you can prevent the big play, like you just talked about, Jay, that's going to go a long way to helping Oklahoma win this game. And I think they can win, even with all of the wide receiver injuries that you've got, even with, some of the question marks at cornerback because of all the big plays. I still think that there's a path for Oklahoma to win this game if they take care of the football, if they attack, if they're able to find some consistency on offense, if one of the wide receivers steps up and has a big game and has one of, like I said, the I'm him moment. I'm looking at you, JJ Hester. You've got the size, you got the speed, you got the physicality to go be him this week. This is your time to shine now. It's your time to go and announce yourself as a big time wide receiver prospect, not just at the collegiate level, but at the NFL level too. So I'm feeling okay. I'm feeling optimistic. And I know you guys hear that from me a lot. I'm an optimistic person by nature, but I do think that there's a path to victory for Oklahoma. And I think, as we saw at the end of the Auburn game, there's a little bit of the magic mojo at play right now. And so as we get into our predictions for this game, Jay, I'm going to say it's Oklahoma 24-23 on a last second field goal from either Zach Schmidt or Tyler Keltner. I don't care which one, because I think both of those guys are kicking the ball really, really well this season.
Just kick it. It's all we ask for. I'm still 24-20. I think Oklahoma holds on with another stop at the end of the game to prevent Texas from even getting into field goal range. Probably a turnover. The big thing here is to stuff, right? For me, I initially was thinking it's going to be under 20 for both teams, be more of like a 19-16 type deal with the game-winning field goal. Could totally see this game being a whole bunch of field goals. The critical thing here is, though, muscle them. Be physical, push them around. Texas does not have a run game right now, right? They got Quintavion Wisner is their starting back now because Jaden Blue had to be pulled because he had 2 fumbles against Mississippi State. Yeah, the run game isn't there from them. They're going to want to pass it. And so if we can force them to keep throwing the ball and keep getting them quarterbacks hit, we're in a good spot.
Yep. And that's going to do it for today's episode of Locked On Sooners. Thanks so much for tuning in, being a part of the show. Subscribe to the show wherever you get your podcasts. We're free and available on all podcast platforms and on YouTube. Follow Jay at Unfair Sports. Also go check out his channel, Unfair Sports, as well. Go check out his new show with Zach Blackerby and Kenton. Sorry.
Ken Gibbs.
I always forget Kenton Gibbs. 3-point stance, where they're breaking down some of the lines for the weekend as well. It's a great show. Just another great product here on the Locked On Podcast Network, where you can also go check out Locked On College Football, Locked On SEC to get you ready for this weekend's action. A lot of big games this weekend in the SEC. Follow me at John 9 Williams. You can also read my work covering the Sooners over at SoonersWire.com, and make sure to subscribe to the show wherever you get your podcasts. Follow the show at Locked On Sooners on all the social media platforms. But until next time, he's Jay Smith. I'm John Williams. Boomer Sooner.